straightforward, the generous explanation for that, I would say, is that he is trying to stay within the earliest arrival time regs.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see if anything comes up of that, but certainly Dunn in the end did very good avoiding action. So we're on the safety car because we're clearing that car of Sebastian Montoya, which has come to a stop on the start-finish straight. Because the recovery vehicle is there, we have the pit lane entry closed. So even if drivers wanted to come in at this stage and throw a soft set of tyres on, they cannot do that. So for now, we can all continue on behind the safety car. What this does do, that's why the pit lane entry is closed. What this does do is it just closes the gaps up.
It does. It's taken a few minutes to get that car off, hasn't it? And so what we're doing now is actually far from the pit lane closure has reversed the strategy completely, hasn't it? Because you've got some drivers thinking, oh, it doesn't then matter about the fact that I've run out of the medium compound tyres, I can come in and throw the soft on. Yeah. Actually, it now really matters how much you've managed the medium compound tyre. If we go green before the pit lane is back open again, because that means that those are the tyres you must take to the end with all the gaps deleted.
Exactly. It is essentially, we'll most likely now just see everyone staying out, bar Gabriele Mini down at the back, but he's going to have a huge amount of cars to try and navigate his way through. And it's going to be a case of who has managed the tyres the best. So we're going to have Gabriele Mini on soft tyres at the back, and that's going to throw an extra element to this race.
So Gabriele Mini, it's still only just made the rear of the field there, as we see Sebastian Montoya, who has had a decent pace all weekend, but a bit of a difficult weekend so far, making his way back to the support paddock that sits on the outside of turn 3 here. We're going to go round again with the safety car, and unless drivers choose to, which they won't, choose to pit as the safety car goes green, and we're getting the thing that the safety car, getting the information that the safety car is going to be in this lap, and the simultaneous information that the pit lane is open. So you now have to give up a green pit stop, so the benefit of that strategy is negated. Yeah,
so essentially this is a sprint to the line. We've got one driver at the back on soft tyres, but he's got a huge amount of cars to get past. So this is a case of who saved their tyres the best.
Well, Mini's also done a couple of laps on that soft. I mean, so the key benefit is not only that the tyre of compound is softer, when they throw on those tyres and get a free pit stop in the middle of the sprint races, it's also new.
Yeah, they're fresh.
So he's put some energy through them as well. So I don't think we'll see him scoot through the field at quite the velocity we normally see in this scenario. The driver we might see under a lot of pressure here is Arvid Lindblad, already struggling with the tyre. They've now put a heat cycle through them, and that's going to give him a very difficult time hanging on to that final podium spot.
And this is the sprint you're all waiting for. This is why we call it the sprint race, because when we get to the end...
Any news on Marty? No news, mate. We can't report it because it's under the safety car. We will, obviously, once the safety car comes in. Yeah, get straight on it.
Okay. Well, so an insight there into the communications allowances between teams and race control, which is much less interesting than what's going to happen now. Marty hitting the throttle through the exit of turn 14.
And it will be 3 laps to go as they turn their way round the final corner and onto the start-finish straight. Pepe Marti leading us, and he's going to have to try and hold off the challenges of Alex Dunn and watch for the battle in third, because Jack Crawford now has a chance to get really valuable points for his championship. The gaps have now closed. We're side by side between the two Williams back drivers behind as they make their way out of the first corner. Browning and Martin side by side, but look at Crawford. He's going round the outside there of Arvid Lindblad as Luke Browning goes down the inside of Victor Martins and into 5th place.
Gets the move done. Browning on Martins. It was lovely stuff down the inside of turn 1, but Crawford is swarming all over the back of Arvid Lindblad, trying to find a way by up to blind turn 4.
And Crawford needs to get this move done because the top 2 are already escaping. They've already broken DRS, but Crawford cannot get by. Arvid Lindblad is a roadblock at the moment in this Formula 2 race as they head through the chicane. We've got Crawford there in 4th, Browning in 5th. He wants to add to the 7 podiums he's already got. Then then it's Martins, Fornaroli and Verschoor as they turn through the second sector.
Browning, really the driver who looks like he's on the move at this stage. He's got good grip underneath him, and he's managing to harry Jack Crawford. Pepe Marti with a really, really nice restart is keeping Alex Dunn under control for now. Of course, they'll have to wait another lap until they've got the use of the DRS system. It was a full safety car, and that'll keep Marti out of trouble ahead.
That certainly will. So Crawford's going to have to do this all on his own in third. Likewise done for the lead as we head through the final corner. And that looked very close. He's almost pushing him down the start-finish straight. Is Jack Crawford probably in his helmet saying, get out of the way. He wants to go after those top two. But Arvid Lindblad wants this podium finish, and he's putting up a solid defence. Oh, big lock up there from the Invicta of Leo Fornaroli. And that's going to be Richard Verschoor now side by side with his championship rival. They will be side by side into turn two. Verschoor going around the outside there. Fornaroli hangs on to the position.
Just plain not enough grip on the dirty stuff for Richard Verschoor. Fornaroli led off lightly for that little lock-up down towards turn one. Lindblad and Crawford, it's nose box to gearbox still as they make their way through the middle of the lap here.
Mini is up to 16th place, so he is ticking off some positions in this race as we head up to the chicane. Alex Dunn trying to stay within a second, which will give him DRS going on to the final lap. And Arvid Lindblad continuing to hold on in third. He's putting up a very solid defence given his tyre performance at this stage of the race. Jack Crawford with DRS, what can he do going on to the final lap?
They're going to have one attempt, aren't they, with the DRS meaningfully. Crawford looking a lot quicker than Lindblad, and although the gap has been deleted, huge shimmy for the Red Bull Junior through turn 12, but although the gap has been deleted, so has the lap count here. So you're going to have less and less opportunities for Crawford to actually make that move.
Round the final corner we go. We've got Browning and Martins right there together. We head on to the final lap of the race. Pepe Marti looks to have just enough of an advantage, but we are nose to tail for the final step on the podium. It's Lindblad versus Crawford. Crawford on the brakes is brave down the outside, and he looks like he's just about going to be level with Arvid Lindblad, and that will give him the inside line going down to turn two. It was great stuff from Jack Crawford to go down the outside of Arvid Lindblad, and that gives him the inside for turn two and a podium position in this sprint race.
Brave on the brakes, scoops it up on the outside and manages to keep going, and now it will be Browning who's got a look at Arvid Lindblad as they make their way up to the top of the hill. Lindblad and Martins in turn three will be investigated after the race. That was Arvid Lindblad clinging on to that position, and it is the battle then between Martins and Browning as they make their way down through 6 and 7.
And look at this for the lead. It's not over yet. Marti and Dunn are right together, nose to tail. Are we going to see Dunn put in an overtake heading down to turn 12? This is turn 11, and Dunn is right there. He couldn't be any closer. It's going to go all the way to the start-finish line. Alex Dunn looks to the outside of Pepe Marti. Can he get the cutback now? Down to the penultimate corner. We're side by side for the lead of this race, and Alex Dunn's going to take it round the outside of the penultimate corner. He's being shoved towards the pit lane there. Alex Dunn still has the inside line into the final corner. Alex Dunn to the inside. Pepe Marti holds it round the outside and just will go on to take his third sprint race win of this Formula 2 season by 0.2 of a second. Wow, what an end to the race that was. It was elbows out stuff, and Campos Racing now can take a breath as Pepe Marti has taken the checkered flag. He's taken the win, but he only just about done it from Alex Dunn, and a crucial podium in championship terms from Jack Crawford behind.
Oh, Marti versus Dunn. Traction versus track position through the final two corners. That was robust stuff indeed. We'll have to have a look at it again. Dunn shoveled super wide through the exit of turn 13. Pepe Marti, though, on the road, just clinging onto it. Oh, wow, a robust battle.
Yeah. Let's have a look at it.
So Dunn is going to get down towards turn 12 on the outside. Both super committed on the brakes. Beautiful positioning there. Cuts back underneath. Pepe Marti with the inside line. Dunn here critically not wheel to wheel alongside Pepe Marti, which I think will save Marti in terms of owning the track position there. Racing guidelines now are public from the FIA, and normally to own the road there on the outside as done, you'd have to be wheel to wheel alongside, with the front wheel alongside the front wheel. So, but I mean, super tough racing over the final couple of corners. We caught the edge of this battle. Victor Martin's trying to get up the inside of Luke Browning, and he does so momentarily, at least, up the inside of 6 and 7.
Yeah, and Browning then was ahead, and Browning held on to 5th place. So it was an attempted move there from Martins. Browning holding that position, but wow, there was no one passing Pepe Marti.
Oh, solid race, Pepe. Solid race. Yeah, good job, guys. Good job. That was quite nice.
Well, he controlled it beautifully. Wasn't harried too much by his teammate at the beginning of the race, then managed the restart. We have another race control message as it relates to Alex Dunn at this stage. A yellow flag infringement that will be investigated after the race.
Well done, mate. Well done, mate. I didn't even try and make the call. He just went straight in front of the side. Just he brake checked me, and then he does that.
Not very happy about the driving of Pepe Marti, who's now been noted for driving erratically.
Yes, good job. Good job. P3. Very well done. Good job, man. Yeah, great. What a good race. Good job, guys. That was great. Let's get another one tomorrow.
Jack Crawford, great effort from him. Let's have a look at this, because the gap really closed on that last lap.
It's going to be one to didn't catch that, did we? Pepe Marti almost drops it in turn 5, and that's what puts Dunn so close to him then onto the back straight in this final lap. Cuts back through the exit and has to follow him through the middle sector, and Alex Dunn then able to attack in the final sector in what was one to watch the socials after, but an outstanding drive from these three.
Totally agree. Pepe Marti will climb out the car the 3rd time this season. He's a race winner in Formula 2, and that's crucial for his championship fight. He's climbing up the standings steadily in this, and he just said he wants to go into the summer break knowing he's got another win under his belt, and he's done just that, and he's got a chance to go and add to that in the feature race tomorrow. Flying with confidence now is Pepe Marti. Alex Dunn is quick to escape Parc Fermé. He is absolutely furious.
Yeah, he's
Alex
not
Dunn.
happy. He's about to sit next to the bloke he's not very happy with in the cool down room. But a battle between the two of them, and about as tough as stuff as I've seen in a Formula 2 sprint race for a while, that over the positions on the podium.
It really was. Pepe Marti, a big mistake in the end there, but just about managed to recover and stay ahead of Alex Dunn coming through turn 5, and now debriefing, and had to do a lot in that race to hold on to the lead, didn't he?
We'd love to have put a heart rate monitor on the Campos team, wouldn't you?
Yes.
While that one was playing out.
Yeah,
they had a lot to be going on with. Great learning experience, that one, I think, for Arvid Lindblad.
Yeah,
who might not have got the result he wanted, but one of those valuable in terms of the experience gained, I would say.
Yeah, there was that communication throughout the middle of the race, and I think Pepe Marti staying ahead of Arvid Lindblad throughout all of that was the difference in the end, and that is why he took another sprint race win. Anytime he takes a sprint race win, they turn out to be pretty memorable races.
Well, Alex Dunn waits for his 2 podium finishes.
Looks like they're here now.
Was it for you guys?
Good. Yeah, I thought you guys were really slow.
At the beginning?
Yeah.
I was one-handed.
Yeah.
Let's try with one hand. Some good review of the race. I like this one.
You already watched it?
Oh, did it already finish?
Yeah.
Really? Oh. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
Did you make a mistake in turn 5 on purpose?
No, mate. I would have not wanted your pressure in the last lap. I can tell you that much. Mate, I broke for 5. Did you see it? The car just went whoop. Yeah. I lost I don't know why I lost it so hard.
Yeah, our vid was fully in the cliff.
Was he?
Oh, so hard.
I mean, he drove the first 15 laps at 0.3 for no reason.
That's chilly.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was going to do as well.
Well, I think he might have been okay, but I think after when he went on the grass, after you overtook him back, and then he tanked.
Yeah.
And then you start to fight, and then it's just...
And it get worse and worse and worse.
It seemed for a while Pepe Marti and Alex Dunn were doing anything they could to avoid each other there. But good to see they eventually shook hands.
Sometimes silence is a real dead loud, aren't they?
Yeah.
Between the two of those guys. But, you know, that's the nature of racing. It won't be the first time. Definitely won't be the last time in both of their careers.
Yeah.
They've had to do that. You tend to move through the junior formula with a similar group of drivers, so you've all had your moments by the time you get to this level, part and parcel of trying to make your way in elite sport between the two of them. But the driving, the pace and the management from the pair of them stands out beyond those incidents in an impressive way.
All a demonstration of how much it means to these drivers pushing for Formula One. And here's a driver who definitely is in contention for going all the way. Jack Crawford continuing to impress in Formula 2. Alex Dunn as well. McLaren backed and fighting for this championship. Another podium finish for him. For the third time, we're going to see him up on the top step. Another sprint race win it is for Pepe Marti. Oh, they're always memorable wins when Pepe Marti goes to the top. And this another one of those. Campos Racing driver Pepe Marti taking the win. Well done to Pepe Marti on the top step of the podium once again. His third time taking a win this season. It's another sprint race win for him, and he just keeps pulling himself closer to those top drivers in the championship, and that is job done for him on sprint race Saturday. Campos Racing, likewise, they are well and truly in the hunt in terms of the team's championship. A productive day for them, with Arvid Lindblad also finishing in fourth place, and they went head-to-head for the lead, didn't they, out front? Alex Dunn took it to the final corner of the race, and he can be very proud of his efforts. McLaren very proud of what they are seeing from the young Irishman there. well and truly in contention for the championship, and so is Alex Dunn. That's a productive day in terms of points as well, taking points out of both Leo Fornaroli and Richard Verschoor, and is now just 5 points off the lead of the championship. And that is where things could change tomorrow, Alex. This results, there are some investigations to be carried out post-race, so always a provisional result. Tomorrow is where we could see big point swings with full Grand Prix points available.
5 points at the moment between the top 4 in the championship, with 25 points on offer, of course, for the win tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out. Make sure you keep your eyes across the socials. There are a lot of investigations to be concluded after the race, more even than normal in the world of Formula 2. And then, of course, make sure you tune in for the race tomorrow. If that was anything to go by, it's going to be a race of time management and intrigue. But of course, the mandatory pit stop comes in tomorrow, and that soft compounded tyre, another curveball for these drivers to deal with, to throw into the mix as well.
There will be battles resumed on track, I'm sure. So make sure you're with us 10 o'clock local time for 37 laps of very entertaining racing. Now, this will be a provisional result. There are some investigations to be carried out post-race, but this is how we see it for now. Pepe Marti taking the win, just hanging on ahead of Alex Dunn in a thrilling, entertaining last lap between those two. Jack Crawford on the podium, Arvid Lindblad fourth, Luke Browning fifth. The points scorers in the end, Victor Martins, Leo Fornaroli, Richard Verschoor, Goethe in the top 10, Beganovic next, and then it was Miney, Dirksen, Stanek, Mini, Miata, Cordial, Megatunic, Villagomez, Esterson, Bennett. Mini had a penalty to serve, took a pit stop, came through from the very back to 14th. Stanek spun and recovered to 13th place. So 2 good drives from those two, given the circumstances they were served within that race. Kian Chills 21st, Sebastian Montoya was the reason we had a late safety car pulling over down the start-finish straight. Until then, he was going along very well from the back of the field. But that is part 1 of round 10. Part 2 is 37 laps of feature race tomorrow at 10 o'clock local time. Make sure you join us for that. For now, from myself, Chris McCarthy, and Alex Brundle, it is a goodbye from the Hungaroring.
for the Hungarian Grand Prix here, some 13 miles to the northeast of Budapest, for what is round 14 of the Formula One Championship, the World Championship of the 75th anniversary in 2025, and a qualifying that could be very, very close between the leading contenders. So far this weekend it's been McLaren 1 and 2 in every single practice session. Q3 last year saw Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen separated by just 4/100ths of a second. It's a 70-lap race, 2.72 miles long this track, and 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right. The tyres are punished. It's relentless turning of the wheel. The soft is the C5, medium's the C4, hard is the C3. Same compounds as we had last year here in Hungary, Budapest. Looking absolutely splendid today. Some 300,000 plus people visit this track. 80% come from abroad, and that's what we had last year at the Hungaroring, but it's all changed for 2025. The surface of the track has been redeveloped. The new VIP pit and paddock club building has been redeveloped, and the new grandstand as well. It's full of colour and vibrancy and life, and it's a race that everyone really enjoys, as it's often fought for in very hot conditions, but where heat and humidity arrive, Martin Brundle, often the rain does too. And I don't know about you, but somewhere over Bill's mother's it looks like it's getting a bit wet.
It's definitely raining over there, isn't it? But right now the track is, of course, bone dry and well over 50 degrees C, and it's just going to be tough out there. But it is late afternoon. You know, we start qualifying here 4 p.m. local to 5 p.m. So the track will cool down a little bit and start yielding some grip. And that's so important here, because there may only be 14 corners, but they follow each other very closely, and one very much leads into the next in places. So you've really got to get the rhythm going and have the mechanical grip to go with it.
We shouldn't be surprised that McLaren have dominated the practice session so far. Their car likes medium speed corners. There are a lot of those around here. It's very good on traction. You need that. It's very kind on its rear tyres as well. So is it Oscar versus Lando, Lando versus Oscar for pole today?
I think so. Yes, absolutely. The car looks superb out on track. Everybody's happy about it. McLaren are confident about it. And if it's a bone dry race, they'll be in another postcode by the end of it in the normal circumstances. But what we saw last weekend in Spa was that Oscar Piastri was clearly faster on Friday. And then all the data gets looked at overnight, and his teammate Lando Norris was right with him on Saturday. I think we've seen the same thing again here, except the other way around. Lando Norris just looked like he very much, had an edge yesterday. We can't be that far away from the time when the McLaren boys start sandbagging, so they don't give too much data away as the championship gets ever nearer the finale. But it does look. I mean, but as ever, we're talking a quarter of or a third of a second at best. And the Ferraris look pretty handy around here too, don't they?
Charles Leclerc kind of best of the rest, along with Lewis Hamilton. They're putting up a valiant fight, but ending up about 3/10 off the pace of the McLaren as these strains of "We Will Rock You" blast around this circuit. Everyone's looking forward to qualifying, and there's a lot of people that aren't undercover here, but they might want to have a little check of the radar, because there is that rain that we saw just to the fringes of this circuit. I think that might skirt past us a little bit, Martin. Couple of splodges maybe might hit the main straight, but we should get away with it. I hope we get away with it. Anna Taylor-Joy in the Ferrari garage. There are a lot of Hollywood A-listers in and around Budapest filming new movies this weekend, and we've seen a few of them at the track so far.
Yeah, a lot of movies made out this part of the world, aren't there? As there are around London town as well. But right now, it's real action. And I would imagine Lewis is sitting in the Ferrari thinking, yeah, the upgrades are working. I think we're getting this together. Fred Vasseur has re-signed. It seems odd to me that you need to announce something like Fred Vasseur's re-signed, because it should just be a roll-on and a given. But they've obviously felt the need to do that. Both drivers like that. They came up through the junior racing, working for Fred Vasseur and his teams there. And I would imagine the pressure cooker's coming off a little bit at Ferrari. Leclerc's been on the podium 4 of the last 6 races, I think it is. And they're looking faster. They're second in the World Championship for constructors. So
it does seem as if they're beginning to emerge out of the other side of a rather difficult phase.
We have a green light. We're a minute into qualifying, but no one wants to come out yet, because I think the teams just, they want someone to go out and clean the track, and when that happens, then the rest will all pile out until such time comes that no one's going to clean the track for anyone else by doing unnecessary laps, and they all come out anyway. It's a continuation at Ferrari of the foundations that Fred Vasseur has laid as team principal. That's the statement from the team. Sooner or later, someone, John Elkann, maybe the chairman of Ferrari, is going to say, I want race wins and I want championship contenders as well. Sooner or later.
Yeah, sooner than later. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is how we rock and roll in qualifying. You've got to get your laps in over what's now 16 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. It must feel, if you're new to Formula 1, it must feel a bit like the ref's blown the whistle to start the match and everybody's just standing around having a chat. But it's as long as you've delivered a credible lap time at the end of this, you'll go through to the top 15 shootout and then hopefully the top 10 shootout. And track evolution is very big here. When you've got so many relatively slow to medium speed corners, braking on the way in, the grip through the middle, and particularly traction on the exit, as that ramps up, you go a bit like Monaco actually. You can find incredible chunks of time. What used to happen here, doesn't so much, is drivers would start dipping a wheel in the dust, and actually the track could ramp up and up and up and suddenly start going slower.
Yeah.
But the curbs are better now, and we see quite a bit less of that happening.
I think the teams are also waiting for the clouds to roll in a little bit more. Since we've been talking in the commentary box, Martin, that's only 8 minutes. Track temperature has gone down from nearly 53 degrees to 47 degrees. That the qualifying cloud is coming over, and as is normally the case, when it gets a bit cloudy and the track temperature drops, then the times start getting just that little bit faster. So maybe they're waiting for a bit more cloud as well. Just the Williams pair of Sainz and Albon out there for a Williams team that haven't got a top 10 start here in Budapest since 2017, and that is not going to get him a top 10 start, Carlos Sainz, if he does that again.
You know, car's twitching through the X as well, so lock up. It's quite downhill. It's quite steep slope into turn 1, which means you've got to brake earlier than you expect. When you brake into a hill, you can brake later than normal and use the extra grip that generates. And again, the back end's all over the place. Carlos has had so many adventures, and he's only made it through 3 corners. Alex Albon, I should say, only made it through 3 or 4 corners. So hopefully the tyres will start coming with him shortly, because he looks extremely tentative on the steering wheel.
Yeah, he's having his struggles. Carlos Sainz was 6/10 down in the first sector because of that lockup as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 6 cars on track now. Verstappen, Tsunoda, Norris, Piastri, Sainz and Albon. A little bit of a Noah's Ark with 3 teams with both cars out there.
And your mate Christian flying the helicopter, and we can see the pictures from it. How's your stomach after yesterday?
No, my stomach was rock solid. It was really exciting, actually, and quite dramatic up in there. We'll have a little feature tomorrow on being in that helicopter, and it is impressive how they keep the car in the middle of the picture as they're sliding across the top of the grandstand here.
I was very impressed with how you didn't stumble, stutter, or deviate from your sentence as the helicopter was doing some banking turns that normally you only get a Hollywood theme park, quite frankly. The cloud is coming ever closer to the racetrack here. That's the lockup for Carlos Sainz. Bernie Collins is at Sky Race Control, watching the radar as much as she is watching who's on what tyres.
Yes, exactly, Crofty. And the radar is interesting because just now, directly in the line of vision of the site, another little burst of cloud, another little rain cell has came on the radar there, and that's moving directly towards the track. So that might be what prompted some of these people to get on with their run plan. Very quickly, Crofty, if you've not gone through it already, when I was getting over here from the paddock, I'll go through
Lift's still not working.
The lift is still not working. I'll go through the drivers that have got 5 sets of soft for this qualifying session. So those drivers are Tsunoda, the 2 Aston Martins, the 2 Haas, the 2 Racing Bulls, and the 2 Williams. So they have 1 more set than the other drivers on track.
That might be quite handy indeed for Racing Bulls and for Aston Martin, who fancy their chances of a top 10 here this afternoon. Aston Martin mixing and matching. They've gone to the old floor and the new front wing after trying a few specs, and Red Bull just trying to find something that gives Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda some balance.
So what happened to Max Verstappen this morning? He was reasonably fast, but then his tyres just gave up, didn't they, towards the end of the lap? With the slightly cooler temperatures will be playing into his hands, and I'm sure he can drive the lap differently and make sure he can spread the grip out over all 14 corners. A little plume of dust on the outside of turn 11. This is 12, another downhill braking zone, and it's slightly downhill into 13 as well. You sweep out and use the beginning of the pit lane here, and then come back immediately. You want to open the last corner up. That's an extremely long corner, and you can power through the exit. The line comes up, and a 16.3. So a good time is going to be eventually late 14s and early 15s.
You would definitely think so, based on what we've seen so far. But the more that temperature comes down, the better off it's going to be, not just for the McLarens, but maybe Red Bull, definitely for Mercedes as well. George Russell saying things were a bit hot earlier today. Lando Norris now into the 115s, high 115 there. But his teammate Oscar Piastri, who we can see now, is going better in the first and second sectors. Front row for him last year, pole for Lando Norris, and it's Piastri now in the mid 115s. He's picked up 0.3 on Lando already.
And both McLarens did use a brand new set of tyres to get that lap on the board. So I think what they're experiencing here, Crofty, is we've had a Formula 2 sprint race which just changes the nature, puts a different type of rubber down, changes the nature of the racetrack.
That's a good time by Lewis Hamilton, 3.5 tenths down on Oscar Piastri, and only a couple of hundredths behind Lando Norris for the 9-time pole sitter here at the Hungaroring. We can just watch Oscar Piastri now, once again dipping tyres into gravel. Turn 12, there's quite a few of them doing that all weekend long, and Piastri 2 or 3 times he's done that, and Lewis Hamilton following him into the gravel a bit.
Yes, I think as long as you've still got some tyre on the serrated curve, they appear to have plenty of forward movement, don't they? Plenty of traction somehow. As we see Charles Leclerc then, obviously a couple of personal bests because it's his first flying lap, and goes over the line with a steady old P6.
Yeah, with Alonso and Stroll 4th and 5th. Aston Martin were 4th and 5th in FP2, second practice, and they were in the top 10 for FP3 as well. Hadjar goes 5th fastest, and that's pushing Verstappen and Tsunoda, early runners in these opening laps, just down a little bit. Keep an eye on that when it comes to Q2 and the fight for the top 10, which, on this evidence, you might think that Verstappen and Tsunoda could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, they'll need to go faster than that, won't they? Now, Kimi Antonelli's looked altogether more comfortable this weekend, hasn't he? On this track, with the setup they've gone back to on the Mercedes, and he's just looked a different driver to what we've seen more recently, and he somewhat confirms that.
He certainly did. Race winner here in F2 last year, Kimi Antonelli, as George Russell crosses the line and goes ahead of his teammate by a couple of tenths. And that just shows you as well where Lando Norris needs to find a bit of pace. You've now got 2 Mercedes cars challenging Oscar Piastri. Andrew Shovlin, the trackside engineering director, I'm sure will be very happy with those first runs. F2 feature race win for Kimi Antonelli from 7th on the grid last year. It was only his only feature race win in F2 last year. The Williams pair are trying again. Sainz and Albon, they find themselves right at the bottom. Only Gabriel Bortoleto behind them, but not for long. He's now done a time, and he puts his Sauber into the top 12 ahead of Verstappen. Tsunoda down in 15th. I said Q2 could be interesting. Well, Tsunoda's in the bottom 5 here in Q1 at the moment with 8 minutes remaining.
Yep, they will definitely have to go again and throw another set of new tyres at it, won't they? And if Max has to do that, that'll be 2 of his 4 sets gone. Yes, under pressure at Red Bull, under pressure too at Williams, 15th and 16th at the moment. They went early, didn't they? And I think they found the track particularly slippery.
Yeah, absolutely. No grip, they were saying on the radio. So the bottom five, currently Esteban Ocon, previous race winner here, back in 2021 from 8th on the grid. And a great view from up in the new Paddock Club area, 2,000 person VIP area here. Pierre Gasly, Ollie Behrman, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, the others in that bottom five. We're on board with Nico Hülkenberg. You can hear that his car had got into the gravel, and you could see it as well. And that's going to have to be swept at some stage, because there's quite a bit of gravel that the tyres and the drivers are going to pick up, even if they stay on the racing line.
Yeah, it was dust that I was talking about they used to put on the track in some corners, but that's just pure gravel, isn't it, where they dip the tyre in there. And that'll become an increasing problem, as you say. And what happens is they want to carry a lot of speed through 12 downhill, and the front's washing out a bit, and they're just ending up right on the side of the track, and the gravel is right on the side of the track.
Now, we're on board with Carlos Sainz as he's making his way into the pits. Alex Albon, I think, will come into the pits too. And Bernie's got some news on Williams for us.
Yeah, Crofty, I was just looking at the run plan. Like you said, they went out first on track. So what were they trying to achieve there? They've now run 2 new sets of soft, with still time on the board to run a third one. So I think, knowing that this track wouldn't suit them, what they've attempted to do is do 3 runs versus everyone else's 2, in the hope that that might promote them through Q1. That last run, they were both down on their sectors through Sector 1 and Sector 2. So they've aborted just to leave a bit more garage turnaround time, get out for this final run, and hopefully the 3 runs being enough to get them through that Q1, and then worry about it from there.
I think it's another new set of tyres here for Fernando Alonso. His teammate Lance Stroll is also out on the track. Just 5 minutes 45 seconds to go, Martin, but is this a bit early for Aston Martin, I wonder? Could they have left it a bit later?
Depends what they're fueled up for, doesn't it? If they think they need an extra lap at the end, what they have got is the track to themselves. But that doesn't legislate necessarily against a bundle of cars coming out still and getting in your way. And that was one thing that really jumped out to me in the helicopter yesterday, the television helicopter ship. It is just how many slow cars, fast cars, were having to navigate over a complete lap. But that's not going to be a problem for Aston Martin at the moment, as Felipe Drugovich, who got to drive in free practice 1 yesterday because Fernando Alonso is carrying an ailment, a muscular thing in his back, and he's found a way with his seat to make it a bit better for him, to get him into the summer break.
So Lance Stroll has been out-qualified by Fernando Alonso at the last 25 Grand Prix. You go back to Silverstone 2024 for the last time he beat Alonso in a Grand Prix qualifying session. Let's see how he gets on this lap.
Well, it turned in nicely to turn 1, and you don't always have to apex. It's such a long corner. Sometimes you just want to free the car up a little bit. And again, here you can run wide, and that's very wide. But you don't want to pinch turn 3. He was flat out, I think, but he had to short shift. This is the blind crest into 4. That's a really difficult corner to get right. Stroll's down to 27.5 first sector. So that's pretty handy. Stay left then for this little piff-paff chicane of 6 and 7, like a hop, skip and a jump, and fly off the end of it and go. This right-hander tightens on the exit and always surprises you. Absolutely flat out through 10. 11 as well in qualifying. Lean on the curb. Downhill braking for 12. Make an extra allowance for that. Brakes about 75 metres. Cranks a lot of steering on. Picks the throttle up early. Stays in play. Late turn in to 13, again front washing out slightly, but he picks up the throttle nicely. That's where you steal a bit of pit in, and long final corner, and off he goes towards the finish line, and this is going to be better for him. P3.
Just lost a bit of time in the final sector compared to where he was in the first 2/3. Fernando Alonso has got purple, so best and best, first and second sectors for the man who picked up his maiden win here back in 2003, and he goes fastest with a 1:15.2.
I got a screw stuck on my front right.
On the tire?
Yeah. It's not in, but...
I will monitor.
And no time to actually get rid of it either, because they're all queuing up to get out onto the track, and Esteban Ocon is actually out on the track at the moment.
Brand new tyres on the Ferrari again then. There's a lot of nervousness down there. The track has now dropped.
That screw.
Yeah, that'll flick off, I would imagine. The the track has dropped 10 degrees since we were first talking about it, just before we went on air with the commentary.
So that's helping the times come down. I hope that screw does just flick off very quickly. Esteban Ocon, that would be very hard luck indeed if something like a screw on his right tyre that he just picked up because it was lying around makes it difficult to get out of the bottom 5. Max Verstappen currently finds himself in P13 as he starts his latest flying lap. While he does that, Lando Norris 27.5 for the first sector, Oscar Piastri 27.4 for the first sector. The McLaren's back out there again. Everyone bar Russell and Antonelli has now left the pit lane with 2 minutes to go. Verstappen about 0.2 down through the first 2 sectors.
Piastri flying, as you said. Some of them are going to be a bit nervy of getting to the line on time. They should be all right. They should be all right to do that. They're leaving the pits now. They might have to push a little bit harder on the outlap than they ideally would like.
Oscar Piastri crosses the line, goes quickest by about 7/100ths of a second from Fernando Alonso. Verstappen is not gaining the time that I think he would like to at the moment. Lando Norris, third fastest, 0.3 behind his teammates. Still that 0.3 margin between the 2 McLaren drivers. Yuki Tsunoda improving as well. He needs to get out of the bottom 5. Carlos Sainz is in the same boat and he's improved through the first sector. Here comes Verstappen, crosses the line, 6th fastest. Should be good enough to get through with a projected time of a 1:16.1 for the knockout. Yuki Tsunoda crosses the line, a 1:15.8. He should be through too.
Just a 10th behind Verstappen. He's definitely a lot happier, isn't he, in that team? As Hadjar, once again, very impressively, goes up to P3 and the track is ramping up and up and up.
But if you're not in the 1:15s, you are going to be sweating a little bit at the moment, and the 2 Ferraris are right on the cusp, with Bortoletto going 5th fastest. He's out-qualified his teammate Nico Hülkenberg in the last 3 Grand Prix, leads that Quali head-to-head, 7.6 currently. Carlos Sainz, can he get out of the bottom 5? He can. He goes 7th fastest. Big improvements we are seeing here with the track temperature dropping. So Yuki Tsunoda now down to 11th. Next across the line will be Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly, and Gasly goes P13. So he's out the bottom 5, but only just.
Lawson and Colapinto do make the start of the lap by a dozen seconds.
Yeah, they left it late. In fact, Colapinto was on a flying lap there and he's gone 11th fastest overall. We're on board with Lewis Hamilton, who, if you remember, last week in Spa, out in SQ1 and out in Q1 as well. It was a horrible qualifying weekend for him.
Albon is out. Did not go, he did a 16.2. He's out.
And that is poor for Williams and disappointing for Alex Albon too. If you look at his previous qualifying here, he was 17th on the grid in 2022, so he might find himself, well, he already is, P18 on that one. Hamilton's not improving on this lap. Charles Leclerc is, and he's in the bottom 5 currently. So this lap is going to have to count for Charles Leclerc. Ferrari don't want 2 cars out in Q1 in successive weeks.
Absolutely. So, and then we saw that it was on brand new tyres. The McLarens, by the way, were on used tyres when they improved their times. Hamilton then up to P9, but only P9.
Esteban Ocon is out. Nico Hülkenberg is out. He's been out qualified by Bortoletto again. Charles Leclerc goes 5th fastest, pushes Pierre Gasly out of qualifying. Albon is out of qualifying. Lawson is on a fast lap. We can see him here. And he pushes Yuki Tsunoda down into the bottom 5. His former teammate at Racing Bulls. Lawson started the season at Red Bull, got demoted, back to Racing Bulls, and guess what? It's the one that was in his seats, or is in his seats, that has got knocked out. Look, Red Bull have been struggling this weekend, but to lose another car and Yuki again in Q1, that's not good.
And with the junior team, Hadjar up in 3rd place. I know it's only a reset now to go through to the next phase, but and Tsunoda a 15.8, Verstappen a 15.7, 5 places ahead of him, but a critical 5 places. So, wow.
That 16.1 was the wrong projected knockout. The track ramped up way faster than you would have thought. For Yuki Tsunoda, it's another Q1 exit, I'm afraid. We come from qualifying 7th at Spa. He's out in the bottom 5. Pierre Gasly with him, Esteban Ocon with him, Nico Hülkenberg and Alex Albon.
That was all there was, fortunately, so it was a clean lap.
That's it.
Yeah, Bierman impeding me.
Loud and clear, loud and clear. After that.
Welcome back to Hungary. Isaac Hadja, the only driver on the grid never to be knocked out in Q1.
Yeah, Bierman impeding me.
Loud and clear, loud and clear. After that.
And he's still the only driver on the grid not to be knocked out in Q1 because he's safely through, as was Ollie Behrman. The stewards may have a look at that incident, or they may not. Yuki Tsunoda, 10th and a half off his teammate Max Verstappen is out. But for McLaren, Oscar Piastri setting the pace. Zach Brown is their CEO. He's with us on the pit wall. Big pace from Oscar from the start there, but Lando lagging a bit behind, Zach.
Yeah, not a very tidy lap there. We went out on used rubber there at the end, so I think we've preserved the set for hopefully Q3.
It's really curious to watch this at the moment. I mean, the outliers comfortably in the top 10, Zach, and we got Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton with only 2 new sets of tyres left through Q2 and Q3. I mean, it's so competitive out there.
It's extremely competitive. It tightened up as usual. You know, FP3 was a little bit larger gap than we were anticipating, but it looks like we've got our usual Formula One here. If it's going to be an exciting Q2 and Q3.
We're seeing a lot of cloud cover coming over the circuit. Bit of rain on the fringes too. What's your radar telling you?
We don't think it's going to hit the circuit. It's about 5 kilometers away, so it's going to have to move quick if it's going to get here in time.
That's very true.
Any clue what's going on at Aston Martin? Because they've just come from nowhere to very much somewhere here this weekend.
Yeah, no, they're looking like the real deal. That was a great lap time by both cars, especially Fernando. Looks like whatever upgrades they maybe have, or this suits their car, but they definitely, and Hadger put in a good lap time. So we can have an interesting starting grid here for Sunday.
We're looking forward to it. Zach, hopefully we'll talk to you in about 15 minutes' time after Q2 has finished, the start of which has been delayed whilst the marshals sweep away the gravel that Oscar Piastri deposited onto the circuit. 10,296 seats in the grandstand, and right at the top where you can see those red booths, that's where Martin and myself are situated. Box 12, I think. 11, I'm told. We're next door to box 12. Thank you very much to Mark, our sound producer, who actually did look at the sign as we walked in. There's the weather radar. It's a bit of a way from the circuit, as Zach was saying, but definite cloud coming in. The more cloud that comes in, the more the track temperature drops, the more it seems to help some cars and kind of take away that big McLaren advantage when the track's at its hottest.
I think they're okay at McLaren, but it's probably closer than they were perhaps expecting at this stage. So that's an interesting one in the low-speed corners. Alonso splitting the McLarens, and these days that's an extremely good effort, isn't it? But to remind you, McLaren were on used tyres at the end there, which when you've got a very slow track like this, the mechanical grip of a fresh set of tyres pays extra dividends. So it's getting ever cooler out there. That should play into the hands of Mercedes-Benz a little bit. They tend to go better, don't they, when it's cooler? Be a lot of head scratching going on at Red Bull. Max Verstappen managing 11th in that, and looking sort of really generally missing pace, wasn't he?
Well, they were 11th in Q1, as you said, 12th in final practice, and 14th in second practice. So it's not a surprise. The surprise is they've not found a cure at Red Bull to whatever their issues were that was causing Max to say the car was undrivable on Friday.
Yeah.
And it was sliding around like it had no grip, especially out of that corner, the final corner, where the fans are doing the big wave, waiting for qualifying to start. Well done to Franco Colapinto, by the way, who hasn't been in Q3 yet this season, but has out-qualified Pierre Gasly for just the second time. Alex Albon, 20th and last in Q1 for the first time since Imola in 2022. And what else? Yuki Tsunoda, as I mentioned, about 10th and a half slower than Max Verstappen. That's a 4th Q1 elimination in the last 8 races for Yuki.
Ouch. Yeah. But the rookies are starting to really get it together on there. Hadjar, Bortoletto, good examples of that. They're getting some confidence, and they've had a decent amount of racing and qualifying now this season. And you could tell from Nico Hülkenberg's radio, his teammate, Gabriel Bortoletto's teammate, quite exasperated to find he was best part of half a second off the pace.
Yeah, just a bit. New tyres for most cars out there. I think the Ferrari that's just ahead of Oscar Piastri is running used tyres, and I think Colapinto is on a set of used tyres as well that I could see from the pit lane, and they're all coming out straight away on the green lights, which is often a sign that they're watching the skies and watching the radar, and the team's thinking right now is a very good time to come out. And I'm told Bernie Collins at Race Control that at turn 6 it might just have started raining.
Yeah, and I'm not picking up any credit for that, Crofty, but I was listening to the team radio. They had the Marshall posts have a button they can press.
2 seconds, Bernie.
Oh, these guys.
He had a couple of racing balls cut in front of him, Franco, there, but such is life.
Look at that.
The Marshall post can push a button to say it's raining at their post. And as I check the radar, turn 6, there has suddenly come rain on the cells on the radar over that section. So that section of track is getting wet.
You really want to be out there. You want to be on this racetrack at the moment.
Jonathan Wheatley with the old school upturned palm to see if it's raining in the pit lane or not. You do not want to be queuing in the pit lane. What you'd quite like to be, I'm sure, is Kimi Antonelli. And well done to Mercedes for getting him out first to go first over the line to start a lap.
You can wiggle through 6 and tolerate it. What you can't do is turn 5 before it if it's wet.
Patch of rain passing turn 1, turn 5, essentially.
See the rain down at turn 1, but the track's warm enough at the moment to just absorb that moisture and not get too soaking. But the longer it carries on, the worse it's going to be, and you want to be out there in the best conditions, and these are definitely the best conditions currently, and Kimi Antonelli enjoying it. So let's see now as he barrels into turn 4, and then turn 5, 6 at the top of the hill, and see just how slippery when wet it is up there.
Yeah, he navigated that all right. What happens is, and I've talked about this before, but rain streams off your visor and you get the impression it's wetter than it really is. So you put a lot of faith in, as you said, the track somehow maintaining and quickly drying out. And corners like that, you just got to believe it's going to be dry when you get there. So Antonelli then flying nicely along.
Yeah, and whilst he flies nicely along and down towards turn 13, the penultimate corner, Charles Leclerc has just come out of the pits. But Max Verstappen being told on the radio by Gianpiero Lambiase, his race engineer, best conditions at the end of the session. You want to get a banker lap in, though. And there it is from Kimi Antonelli. It's a 1:16.3. It is 6/10 slower than his best time in Q1. George Russell 4/10 slower than his best time in Q1, and going through that first sector they're all taking it 2 or 3 tenths slower where the rain has been falling. Stroll will be next across the line, and a 1:15.6 from him. He's slower but only by about 3/100ths of a second.
That's handy from Lance Stroll, and he does like he's always been strong, hasn't he, in slightly difficult conditions.
And there's his teammate Fernando Alonso, who doesn't go faster, Martin, but still goes to the top, as it were.
That's a good lap time in those conditions. So clearly, there might be a bit of water in the sky and on the umbrellas, but it's not affecting the racetrack at the moment, is it?
No. It's still okay for the dry tyres. Ollie Behrman slips into third fastest. This is exactly what McLaren wouldn't want. If you've got a qualifying session where you've got the pace to absolutely dominate it, the last thing you need is anything untoward to come in and spoil the party. That's a great first sector from Lando Norris, it has to be said, a 27.4 for him as Isaac Hadjar goes third fastest, and he's absolutely flying along.
The track looks absolutely normal, doesn't it? It looks completely fine in terms of the grip level, judging by these sector times. So Lando then, we're looking for his middle sector. It's a 26.3. It's very fast indeed. And it's one of the gravel there is one of those trying to stop cars from reaching track limits, but it doesn't. It's not the perfect. We've got better solutions than that now with the little blue line and making the white line slightly wider.
Norris crosses the line, goes fastest by half a second. Wow, indeed, a 1:14.8 from Lando Norris. 1:15.2 was the pole time last year. We're already a 1:14.8. The Sainz goes 9th fastest. So Kimi Antonelli, who was out there first, is now down in 11th. And out of that top 10 shootout, unless he can go faster again. Hamilton next across the line, and he goes 9th fastest, only 9th fastest. Here comes Oscar Piastri, quickest in the middle sector. Where's his time going to stack up? And he's 5/100ths of a second behind Lando Norris. Same wow, because they're both half a second clear of the Aston Martin. But now Lando with a half a tenth advantage. And Charles Leclerc only 10th, Lewis Hamilton 11th.
Yeah, they've got some work to do, haven't they?
I think, were they both on the used tyre, the Ferrari? They were both on the used tyre. And they better hope, like Red Bull and Max Verstappen, that the best conditions are coming at the end of this session, because I'm told that the rain's increasing just a little bit down at turn 1 and turn 6. But they better hope that that's wrong, and that in the next just under 9 minutes, things will dry up a little bit.
Well, they certainly said to Max Verstappen, best conditions will be at the end of the session, but that's an act of faith, isn't it?
Which surprises me that they weren't on the new tyres to go out for the first flying lap. Franco Colapinto's had a lap time deleted for that.
Big swapper in turn 9, and wastes turn 11 as well, 10 and 11 as well.
It seems a shame that he gets his lap time deleted for it. It's not going to count because it was very slow because of the swapper that he got on, but no time there. If you were Ferrari, Martin, you could see the rain, you could see it spitting, and you think, surely go on the new tyres to get a banker lap in, unless you absolutely know it's going to be better in about 10 minutes' time.
Focus, please, on one thing, which is to go out as soon as possible, not care about anything else. I want the least cars possible out exit of the pit lane. Understood?
That's very clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they're like Red Bull. They obviously think it's going to stop raining in the next 7.5 minutes. So, the track's still 40 degrees, and it's still all warm enough just to burn that off, especially with the cars going over it. It's in these lulls. If it keeps raining in these lulls, that's where it starts to settle a little bit. No brollies.
No need for emergency ponchos, but that is at the final corner where that particular grandstand is, and those lucky people are underneath the cantilever roof of the new grandstand. And there doesn't seem to be a seat to be had. As I mentioned at the start, over 300,000 people come to this race, Martin, over the course of the 4 days. 80% come from abroad. Be it Finland, which I think is like a 2-hour flight away. Huge amount of British fans here as well, and it's been brilliant to see them all around the town. But it's a real tourist destination for a Grand Prix, and this the 40th year that we've been coming to Budapest, which is absolutely flown by those 40 years.
I know. I remember the first race as if it was yesterday, standing on the grid here. Extraordinary sight with so many people in what is very much a natural bowl of a venue. It's quite compact, but it does create some decent racing.
Istvan Papp designing this circuit in the Three Springs Valley. Names Bernie Collins after the three springs on the motor racing cars of the time, or not?
I'm going to say not, but who knows, Croft? Who knows?
There are three natural springs around here.
I've just been trying to monitor the radar a little bit, Croft. I think teams have had a bit of a scare there. That little salivary that we had came out of nowhere. It grew over turn 5, started to extend to turn 1. Then as suddenly as it starts to grow, it starts to move away again. So now to me it looks like nothing on the track, definitely for the end of this session. But that would have scared them a little bit because that was not seen on the radar before that happened. So now you should see the track improving. But teams have to react quickly to this. Drop in track temperature, you have to adjust your outlap, adjust what temperatures the tyres are going at, adjust what pressures potentially the tyres are going at in order to get the optimum as you go into that flying lap. So there's going to be a lot of reaction, particularly in tyre preparation, from all of the teams out there.
Lance Stroll is out early enough here, Martin, that he could actually get 2 more laps in, should he need it.
If you've got the tyres and if you've fueled for it, because obviously you need a lap in the middle to recharge your battery and cool everything down a little bit. Here's turn 5. Looks bone dry, doesn't it? This is 6 where it first started raining. There's the little curb you got to touch. Pick up the throttle, bounce off the exit. Turn in really late here, but you stay slightly left because this is a tight right-hander that tightens a little bit more just there. Absolutely flat out through here. Let's see what he does in 11. Downshift and then back on the throttle.
I was enjoying that.
I was enjoying that. So anyway, brand spanking new tyres then. So the gamble has paid off for Ferrari and Red Bull by not wasting their brand new tyres when the track was rainy.
Yes, and Charles Leclerc getting his wish and coming out early for these next runs as Stroll crosses the line, and a 1:15.1 is an improvement by half a second, and he goes third fastest ahead of his teammates and just over 2/10 behind Lando Norris as the cars now start to file out. As I said, Lance could probably, if he pushes hard enough, get back into the garage, change tyres, get back out again should he need to. Is that 1:15.1 the right side of the projected cutoff? We'll see as we now dip into track temperature below 40 degrees. Oh, Carlos, you very nearly touched the back of that Mercedes there. So his efforts to get out. Well, is he entitled to get in? Because he's got his wheel over the white line.
His wheel is over the white line. We had this as well last weekend, but you've still got to go into an available gap.
Yeah.
Now, there wasn't one, was there? Because they were doing the full M25 gig down there, weren't they? And just nose to tail, not letting anybody in.
Which is absolutely fair enough. If you're going to ignore the lane closure signs and still get right to where the cones start and try and push your way in, I'm going to ignore you as well. I think that's only fair.
You'll not stop me on my motorbike.
That's different. You breathe in and there's room for both of us, not worry. So 3 minutes to go here, and Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri 1 and 2. Lance Stroll third fastest and has another fast lap on the board in this session. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have a bit of pressure on them again, and Leclerc had this, of course, in Q1 when he was in the bottom 5 until right at the last moment. Well, at the moment he's not in the bottom 5, but his teammate is.
I don't think Charles Leclerc will be that pleased with the amount of cars he's going to find on track out there. Colapinto he should pass before he gets into the first corner, and then ahead of him are the 2 McLarens trundling out, but they'll know to get out of the way as well. So here we go down to turn 2. They tend to take a slightly wider line through there because it's freer with the car. They can pick the throttle up early and they've got more than enough grip to go flat out through 3 as we go past one of the McLarens of Piastri. Oh, that's really wide. But he sort of scooped it up, didn't he? And this is a much better sort of driver's eye view. You can see so much less of the curve. Well, that looked wide as well again, didn't it? But he's carrying a decent speed. What do his sector times look like? First sector, kind of okay only, wasn't it? And yeah, he carried a lot of speed through 11. That was good. Gets it in. Is he going to dip a wheel in the gravel again? We can't see from here. And 13 then. Back end complaining at the amount of torque demand he's giving it through the throttle pedal. into the final corner. Charles Leclerc then, this is an important lap for him, and only P5.
It's a 1:15.4 for Charles Leclerc. Both McLarens on used tyres for this run. Lewis Hamilton finds himself P11 at the moment. Where's this lap going to take him? Only P7 equals his worst ever start here at the Hungaroring. But will that enable him to get into Q3? Projected time 1:15.7, and Hamilton's right on the bubble there.
Antonelli had a wild moment just as we picked him up there that would have cost him a little bit of time, as he just skirts, that's where you need to be, skirting right on the edge of the curb there in 12. That looks wide again, car sliding around. Looks like he's just sort of overdriving it a little bit on this lap.
Stroll and Alonso box. They both think at Aston Martin they're fine. That's wild again from Antonelli out of the final corner. He goes 8th fastest. Lewis Hamilton is now down to 10th. Bortoleto, Colapinto, Verstappen, Russell all improving behind him. This is going to be the worst qualifying ever here for Lewis Hamilton, as he is now knocked out of Q2 and he's down into 11th. Russell goes 4th fastest. Verstappen gets himself into P8 and P8 only, but could that be enough? Piastri improving in the first sector, doesn't need to improve in the second, and doesn't. He's safely through. Bortoleto goes into the top 10, pushes Kimi Antonelli out. So Mercedes, and then Behrman for Haas, Hamilton for Ferrari, Sainz for Williams, Colapinto for Alpine, all in that bottom 5. Piastri stays second fastest. As I say, both McLarens on the used tyres. Colapinto's never been in Q3 before. Could he do it today? Crosses the line. No, goes ahead of Sainz and into P14. But Sainz is still on a lap, and he could yet knock out Gabriel Bortoleto from this qualifying. Crosses the line now and only improves to go one place ahead. The big shock there is Lewis Hamilton, the most successful driver of all time here at the Hungaroring, for the first time is knocked out in Q2.
Yeah, and he's not looked like he's gonna, you know, we talked about this even in early stage of Q1, didn't we? Look, Lewis was going to be under pressure, and he certainly ended up being that way. He'll be gutted to hear that radio call saying, you are out, and it's P13 as well. It's not even P11.
Every time.
And is that
talking about traffic, do you think,
or car, or just not been able to get the lap together? He did have a mechanical failure here, 2014.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be out. Man, I had no rear. I don't know. Like, what the heck?
Okay, let me have a look through that.
Yeah, Lewis had a mechanical failure in 2014. First time on pure pace he's ever failed to reach Q3. That is massive disappointment for him. Kimi Antonelli, let's just have a little look down into turn 1 with him. And he's carrying a lot of speed and then gets a real swap on coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, the back end was loose the whole lap, wasn't it, for Kimi Antonelli? What are we going to see here for Charles Leclerc? Yeah, he did have to give that a big slug of opposite lock at the top, and we were on board with him at the time, and it looked leery, didn't it? But he kept his foot buried in the throttle.
He's qualifying or taking part in a rodeo there. Antonelli then is out, failed to reach Q3 for a second consecutive race. Colapinto still hasn't reached Q3. Sainz, Hamilton and Behrman all out as we go for pole next.
Fantastic job, man. Let's go! Again! Oh, yes!
Welcome back to Hungary, and guess what? Gabriel Bortoletto's in Q3 again.
Q3 again. Fantastic job, man. Let's go! Again! Oh, yes!
Third time in 4 races. I don't know what he's getting so excited about, Ant.
Yeah, screams of joy for some, Crofty, but disappointment for others. Lewis Hamilton, just looking at what happened here in Sector 3. Turn 12 looked good, maybe a little bit steady on picking up throttle, but watch this in Turn 13. A snap of oversteer, comes mid-corner, just towards the exit. He has to breeze off the throttle momentarily, and again in the final corner. Watch the hands. He's unsure of what the rear is doing in that Ferrari, and he says, you know, yet again we're going out in a session where I felt like I had the speed to go through. Looked like to me just it was a tyre issue there, that the rear's just given up on him through the lap. Behrman as well, we look at what happened to him in Turn 13, the same corner catching him out, which caught Lewis out, but to an even more extreme result, wider out of that corner, and then has to take a tight line into the final corner, wrestling with the car the whole way through. It's a common thing that happens here, as we know, in Sector 3, but it was a disaster for Kimi Antonelli. Watch the chicane, too much curb in Turn 7, right over that one. The car doesn't like it. Then on the exit of Turn 9 as well, an early turn-in causes this moment, the snappiness. He's got dirt on the outside tyres, and then he turns into, I'll just play it on again, into 11, and the car's unstable straight away. So it just takes away the driver's confidence. Also, they went maybe a little bit too early, I think, with Kimi there. You've got to give your driver the best chance possible as the track continued to ramp up, as Max Verstappen was told by his team at Red Bull. Back to you, Crofty.
Thanks ever so much, Ant. We go for pole now then, and pole here in Budapest has been taken by a British driver in a Mercedes-powered car for the last 5 consecutive pole positions. And, well, Lewis Hamilton was never going to be one of those this weekend because he's driving a Ferrari-powered car now, but Lando Norris has gone fastest in the second part of qualifying and is the one that can carry that streak going. But he's going to have a lot of pressure from his teammate Oscar Piastri, and McLaren are going to be kept honest by Aston Martin, who was racing points back in 2020, did qualify 3rd and 4th here. So the team, as it was then, have previous here, Martin, but it is a surprise to see them up there and doing so well, so consistently throughout this weekend.
Yeah, they've done something because both drivers are very fast and the car's consistently quick as well. The pain for Antonelli down in 15 because he saved 2 new sets of soft tyres for Q3, so they'll probably wish that they had used those a little bit earlier, used 2 new sets in Q2 now. So there's the radar, and it looks like it's going to stay dry, doesn't it?
One would certainly hope so. I think we've got enough excitement coming our way without any wet stuff to get in the way of it. Saving 2 new sets of soft tyres and then not getting through the Q3. It's like having the lottery numbers and never buying a ticket, right? The winning lottery numbers and never buying a ticket.
It's very much like that, yes.
Got to be in it to win it. And they're here enjoying themselves. and we're about to get going. Two Aston Martins, Stroll and Alonso, heading out onto the track. Liam Lawson into Q3 again for Racing Bulls. He said he needed to improve his qualifying in the second half of the season. This is now the fourth Q3 appearance in the last 7 Grand Prix for him. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri as McLaren chase a 69th front row lockout to take them ahead of Ferrari in the all-time list. George Russell for Mercedes, previous pole sitter here. George Russell back in 2022. Isaac Hadjar is back in Q3 again. Max Verstappen definitely made it and just about made it for Red Bull. A previous pole here in 2019. And Gabriel Bortoleto, as I mentioned, third time in the last 4 races. He's through. Charles Leclerc, the one remaining Ferrari.
Max only has one new set of tyres left, so that's why you saw used on there, that sort of dull sheen on the top of them where they've been used. But they're in danger of being slower than the Racing Bulls here, aren't they, in this qualifying session? But let's see what Max can magic up at the end when he's on the brand new tyres.
And don't forget, pole position has been decided here by 3 milliseconds in 2023 and 44 milliseconds in 2022. And the top 3 on the grid last year were oh so close as well. Just 46 milliseconds separating Norris, Piastri and Verstappen. I know it's a short lap, Martin, but it's always close here.
It is indeed. It's a long run, despite it being a relatively short pit straight, because they start pretty much at the beginning of it for the grid. It's actually quite a long run down to turn 1, as Lando Norris found out to his cost last year. There's Oscar Piastri's engineer, Tom Stallard, a medal-winning Olympic rower himself. But this is important for the 2 McLaren boys who are quite clearly really they're in a 2-horse race now for the Drivers' World Championship, aren't they? The team are in a 1-horse race for the constructors. So this matters. This matters a lot to Lando Norris to nail this and try to steal back somehow tomorrow and before the summer break some of those 16 points.
27.8 for the first sector for Lance Stroll, 27.6 for Fernando Alonso, 27.8 for Liam Lawson as Lando Norris starts his first flying lap. Man who's never been out-qualified by a teammate here in 6 previous Hungarian Grand Prix. It was a 27.0 for Stroll through the middle sector. Alonso's 3/10 up on him as he goes over the line for the middle sector too. Charles Leclerc was 3/10 down on Alonso through the first sector alone, and Lando Norris 27.5 for the first sector. There's the benchmark from Stroll that they're all trying to aim at. Alonso will be next to cross the line. Fernando Alonso, who was last on pole 4,759 days ago, he's got a 1:16.0, but there's competition for it.
Stroll was on used tyres, so that was pretty wide in 5 there for Lando. Oh, and the back end of the guys, he just tried to carry the speed through without really downshifting, just coming off the throttle into 12. That's nice and neat and tidy. Will the car stick with him? Oh, he's got a... no, he had to keep steering right to control the slide. So it's not been a perfect end to the lap. That's slightly wide, but you can get away with that with a bit of a wall of death around the outside. Lando Norris then just a fraction faster than he was in Q1. Door is open for Oscar Piastri.
Does he want to stride into it? The invitation is there. The DRS is open, and provisional pole for Oscar Piastri is his with a 1:15.3 by about a 1/10 of a second. He is up. But it's a Saturday. Never discount out George Russell, who's absolutely flying on this lap. As the track temperature continues to fall here, the Mercedes is coming in to the absolute sweet spot. George Russell crosses the line, and he's lost out in the final sector. Slots in third ahead of Alonso and Leclerc. Lawson, Bortoleto, Stroll's had his lap time deleted, and we're on board with Verstappen.
Yeah, Russell still managed to... He's made the McLaren boys look over their shoulder. That's a great lap from George Russell, and that's very much a how about my contract for next year lap, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not going to be this man at Mercedes for next year. Max Verstappen's committed his future to Red Bull and their new team boss, Lauren Mekies, but George Russell still in contract negotiations, and that's just another message, as you say, to Toto Wolff to say, look what I'm doing this year. You might be looking elsewhere or having the odd chat, but don't discount what's going on underneath your nose. Isaac Hadjar didn't come out. Stroll had a lap time deleted, and that's the first part of qualifying done, and that is why Lance Stroll had a lap time deleted. Marginal, but you're either over it or you're not. What happened to George in the last corner? That's where he lost all the time.
Wow. Well, that's good news for him then. That's very good news for him, because there's time to come for George Russell.
But he was right up there with best first sector, best second sector as well. And could it be George Russell to continue the trend of the Mercedes-powered British driver on pole?
Well, we'll see. Shortly, so Piastri and Norris, they've learned where the track is. It's now dropped 15 degrees since the start of qualifying. It's almost like a different day out there now, isn't it? And the track, they've got some of the F2 rubber up and away, put some F1 rubber down. I know it's all Pirelli, but and they know what they're working with now.
Very gusty, I think.
It's worth pointing out the wind has picked up a little bit from this morning. It's blowing you a tailwind over your left shoulder as you sit in the cockpit and head into turn one.
The surface of those rear tyres, though, is overheating. By the time they get to the end of the lap, you change the property of the tyre as well, the compound. And it's I'm told from the drivers that if you slide it too much or spin it up too much, you'll not get them back again.
So, while they get busy in the garages, changing tyres and giving the car a once-over, the clock continues to tick down. 5 minutes to go and out on track. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Aston Martin going early again. They just want to avoid the traffic and have the track all to themselves. Their best qualifying this year, Fernando Alonso, 5th on the grid in Imola. Alonso's currently P4.
Everybody who's running Q3 has been, and that's 7 of them, has been slower than they were in Q2. So I know some of them use tyres, but some of them considerably slower.
Wait, I'm ready on the outlap. I have again no grip. It's like literally driving on ice.
And you need definitely rear grip here, because you need your traction out of the corners. Well-balanced car. Emphasis on the rears. And if you've not got that grip, your wheels spinning, you're lighting up your tyres, you're overheating them, and it just compounds one revolution after another.
Much lower pressures here than, say, Spa last weekend, because you have high-speed corners there you don't have here. So the 22 front, 20 rear, dramatic. It was 26.5, 24.5, I think, in Spa last weekend, but significantly higher tyre pressures. They were mandated to run, but that does give them some good mechanical grip from the tyre here as well.
Lance Stroll at the moment will make the turn into turn 4, where the wind will just start to pick up the back end of the car, and then he's now turning into a headwind. And I'm mentioning the wind because Oscar Piastri's asking for updates on it, and it is getting quite gusty, Martin, out there.
It is. 3 meters per second is the exact speed, but that Aston Martin looks a different car around here. Yeah. It looks drivable. It looks like it's sticking to the road a lot better. It looks, well, they've done something, because that's a lot better.
3rd on the grid here, Lance Stroll, back in 2020. Has been knocked out in Q1 way more than he wants so far this season. Best of 8th on the grid for him. But on the new tyres now, can Lance Stroll get his Aston Martin into the top 5? That's his target, I think, here. And he crosses the line and goes P3. He's only a 10th off Oscar Piastri. It's a super lap for an Aston Martin that is really coming alive in these conditions. And his teammate is going even quicker. Fernando Alonso, as I mentioned, 4,759 days since his last pole, Germany, in 2012. We dig out that stat occasionally when he gets close. And how much closer does Fernando Alonso want to get from a provisional pole? 0.08 of a second between himself and Oscar Piastri. What a lap from Alonso.
Yes, he split the McLarens, and wasn't expecting to be saying that today. It's not over yet, of course, as McLaren are now out there to attempt their final efforts. And, well, of course, they did They got into the 1 minute 14s in Q2, and you'd expect them to be back there now.
The first driver, Fernando Alonso, since 1975, and Graham Hill to still be active in F1 beyond his 44th birthday, which was earlier this week, in his 22nd active season.
It's a good lap. It's a pretty good lap, I'd say. Good job.
Is still producing good laps. Wow, he's been on the grid for half of his life, and he's still producing the goods like that. Wow.
Muy bien. So he's done a staggering number of the overall races in Formula One, hasn't he? A staggering percentage.
Utterly ridiculous. I mean, what are we up to? 1,139, I think, and he's done. This is his 415th of them.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of starts, he's done 3 weekends where he didn't start.
And over 40% of the Formula One races in history.
So he can't quite get pole, and he's on the front row, Fernando Alonso, which means Lando Norris has got to find some more pace to get back on the front row at least here. Here he goes, Martin, take it away.
Downhill then, you can see as the car disappears there, just how much the slope is. Now, you want one big sweep of the steering wheel. You don't want to work the car, all the tyres, and take a shorter run to 2. They then tend to run a little bit wider around here. They carry more speed. Don't bother with the apex. 3 is a nothingy little corner, really. And you want to flick right at the end of that straight to line yourself up. And that looked great, didn't it? I mean, almost leaving a little bit of time on the table there. Neat and tidy. And it's not his personal best in the first sector, though, is it?
No, it's not. And Oscar Piastri hasn't got a personal best. And guess who's finding pace at the end? Charles Leclerc, who was the man on the podium with the 2 McLarens last week. And Leclerc has just taken provisional pole by a small fraction. But now Piastri and Norris have got to both go faster to get back onto that front row. Ferrari leaving it late.
And they need to do it. He's got to go faster, Lando. If he wants to be anywhere near the front row of the grid, he needs to nail this final sector. So does Piastri.
Yeah. McLaren not getting it right at the end. Others are finding the pace. Norris improves, but only to P3. So can Oscar Piastri produce a barnstorming final corner to get his car ahead of the Ferrari? Or is Piastri going to start just on the front row? It is just the front row for Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc, for the first time in his career, at a track he said on Thursday that he really doesn't like, finds himself on pole at the moment. Lawson, 7th fastest. George Russell improving in the middle sector, but not putting in the sector times, I think, to challenge pole. Bortoletto goes 7th fastest. Verstappen's given it absolutely everything, and 2 decent sectors. He's got 3/10 to make up. Can he do that? He's a 4-time world champion. You never know. George Russell will be next to cross the line. I'm keeping an eye on his timings. Russell goes onto the second row, pushes Alonso and Stroll onto row 3. Only Max Verstappen can deny Charles Leclerc pole position here. Verstappen crosses the line. It's only P8. Guess what? Ferrari have a pole position through Charles Leclerc. It's cheers and it's applause in the Ferrari garage for a first pole for the Scuderia in a Grand Prix in 2025.
There'll be a lot of head scratching at McLaren. They should have had that covered easily. But Piastri 5/10 slower than Q2. Norris 6/10 slower than Q2. They didn't have their pace again when it mattered in the final part of qualifying. Charles Leclerc did. He did a 15.5, a 15.4, then a 15.3 in the 3 parts of qualifying, and that, remarkably, surprisingly, was enough. Well done, Charles.
The Hungaroring, he said on Thursday, is the worst track of the season for me. I'm not sure why. I think it's just become his best track of the season so far, isn't it?
Yeah, he'll be very happy with that. He'll be towing the McLarens down to the first corner, and it's always about how you keep the tyres in over and over. Depends how hot the race is, really. But for now, Leclerc is the fastest man in the world this afternoon.
Oh, what a qualifying that was. Never on the front row here in Hungary before. What a lap he's put in. And he was given, the middle sector was just brilliant from him. And dodging the traffic as he came round, that was Russell about to start his final flying lap. And really pushing hard through this final corner. Super from Charles Leclerc.
I tell you what, Lando Norris could...
Willa, P1. What? Mamma mia! Oh my God.
Yeah, that's one way of describing it.
So Lando Norris did a 15.4, so did Russell, so did Alonso, so did Stroll. It wouldn't have been that difficult for Lando to be sixth. And we thought, I certainly thought, the McLarens would walk this qualifying session.
Just over a tenth of a second between the top six on the grid here. Oscar Piastri might be pretty satisfied with P2, where he starts for the third consecutive race, and of course where he won his maiden Grand Prix from in 2024. You mentioned it, Martin. It's a long drag down to turn 1, 472 metres.
It used to be really bad news starting on the right side of the grid here, but a brand new surface, I think, will sort that out.
The one will be thinking and scratching his head most, I'm sure, is Lando Norris. Like, where did the pace disappear from on that final run on those new sets of tyres? It's food for thought from him. But I've seen drivers come from P3 to lead into turn 1 here before, so all is not lost. Hinch has got the mic, and he's got the pole sitter in front of him.
And now we are here with Charles Leclerc, your pole sitter for the Hungarian Grand Prix, 27th career pole. Charles, I mean, look, the Ferrari's been quick this weekend, easily the second best team, but did you guys think you had that kind of pace in qualifying?
I mean, today I don't understand anything at Formula One. I mean, honestly, the whole qualifying has been extremely difficult. When I say extremely difficult, it's not exaggerating. It was super difficult. It was difficult for us to get to Q2. It was difficult for us to get to Q3. Q3, the conditions changed a little bit. Everything became a lot trickier, and I knew I just had to do a clean lap to target third. At the end of the day, is pole position. I mean, I definitely did not expect that.
A little speechless almost. So you mentioned the conditions changing. How much could you feel that on racetrack? Q1, it was sunny, it was warm. By Q3, we've got this cloud cover. It's really cooled down. Could you feel that grip change on the track?
Yeah, I could definitely feel it a lot, and I was also a bit on the lower side of the downforce. So when the rain started in Q2, I was just hoping that it wouldn't stay there. It didn't. The conditions changed, which made everything very tricky. And at the end, we are on pole position. Honestly, I have no words. Yeah, it's probably one of the best pole positions I've ever had, because it's the most unexpected for sure.
Last week, Oscar said qualifying on pole at Spa, maybe not the best place to start pole. Here, a great place to start pole position. Track position so important here. How confident are you going into the race you can lead out at turn 1 and bring this win home?
Yeah, I mean, the start and turn 1 will be key. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how it will go, but one thing for sure is that I'll do absolutely everything in order to keep that first place. If we manage to do that, then that should make our life easier for the rest of the race.
All right, well, congratulations. Your pole sitter, Charles Leclerc.
Thank you.
Oscar, you're going to line up P2, front row on the grid tomorrow. I mean, I guess let's start with just how your run went and kind of talk us through how much the track and the conditions changed from Q1 to Q3, because in Q1, you guys were the class of the field, and by Q3, it looked like a real struggle.
Yeah, I think the wind changed a lot. It always sounds so pathetic, blaming things on the wind, but the wind basically did a 180 from Q2 to Q3, and yeah, just meant a lot of the corners felt completely different. And my first lap in Q3 felt pretty terrible because I wasn't used to it, and then I thought the second lap was a lot better, but it was even slower. So yeah, just difficult to judge in those conditions, and you know, maybe not the best execution, but I was a bit surprised that we couldn't go quicker than that. So you know, second is still a decent spot to start. So yeah, we'll see what we can do tomorrow.
Your car changing, your grip changing is one thing, but were you expecting another team in Ferrari and Charles to be able to find that amount of pace and actually get pole position?
Yeah, I mean, Charles has been quick all weekend, and even this morning he was closer than we expected. And yeah, I mean, things just changed a little bit, and I guess he did a very good job. So yeah, well done to him. I wasn't expecting to be second to a Ferrari this weekend, but yeah, he's done a good job. So it's going to be a fun race tomorrow with yeah, a bit more involved.
Yeah, can't wait to see the first corner action. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Lando Norris going to be lining up third place for the Grand Prix tomorrow. Lando, I hate to say it, maybe a little bit of a disappointment to not have a McLaren 1-2 lockout?
I mean, yeah, from how our form is, and of course, but I think, yeah, Charles did a good job on the last lap. Probably risked a little bit more in these conditions. The wind changed a lot and really seemed to punish us in a bigger way, it seemed. So, I mean, not too many complaints. We thought we both did some good laps at the end, and we were just slow. So nothing to complain of, but Charles did a good job.
How tough was it to make these tires last? I mean, throughout practice, it looked like it was a one-lap tire, but sometimes in qualifying, it looked like it wasn't even a one-lap tire. It was hard to make it get all 14 corners.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a long lap with many corners, so it's tricky. But I mean, like Q2, I think we showed how quick we can go and our advantage. But as soon as the wind changed, everything went away, and the last sector became even trickier again. So yeah, still not an easy lap to put things together. When you do it, it feels nice. When you don't, like in Q3, not so happy.
Obviously, going into tomorrow, kind of two objectives. You want to win the race, but you also want to try to close the gap to Oscar in the Drivers' Championship. What's the bigger focus for you going into Turn 1 tomorrow?
I mean, both. I want to go forward, so I want to win. And if I can do that, then I'll get points, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an exciting race. I would expect us to have a bit more pace than Charles. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, best of luck tomorrow. Lando Norris lining up third place.